All right, we're good to go? Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to thank each and every member of the media. I think it's very important that you guys are covering stories like this, which is truly historic, especially during these dark times that we're living when it comes to immigrants. I want to acknowledge the presence of my co-counsel and managing partner at the Arroyo Law Firm, Josephine Arroyo, who also happens to be my wife, and the head of our immigration division, Mr. David Martinez, who played a big role in this endeavor. We also want to acknowledge the presence of Ms. Jennifer Rodriguez, who is here to my right. Ms. Jennifer Rodriguez has gone through a lot. But before we enter into her story, I just want to say that during these dark times, during this dark chapter of this country, when it comes to immigrant discrimination, there is still a glimmer of hope. Now, when it comes to the political topics and debates, we're going to leave that to the politicians. But when it comes to the legal arena, attorneys are the ones who are there to fight. In the legal arena, there's no room for sound bites. There's no room for BS. There's no room for political rhetoric. And this is just an example of a small victory, a small battle that was won in this war of justice, for justice of the immigrant community. Ms. Jennifer Rodriguez, just to give you a little bit of background, was arrested in late March for allegedly driving without a license. We were hired to represent her on that criminal case, and we immediately got it dropped in Osceola County. Despite of that, an ICE detainer hold was put on her at the Osceola County Jail. She has no criminal record. She paid taxes. She had a valid driver's license, which she was able to obtain. Yet that wasn't enough for ICE. Not only was she held by ICE, immediately after we got the case dropped at Osceola County, she was swiftly transported, not to Miami, but to Texas to face deportation proceedings. We weren't alerted. Families were kept in the dark. And that's just a good example of how the rhetoric or the narrative that we're hearing throughout the last 4 months or 5 or 6 months as to the majority of immigrants being deported having criminal records is just not true. I believe recent data has indicated that 4 out of every 5 undocumented immigrants being deported have no criminal record. Let that sit in, okay? We are also seeing a pattern of discrimination. As criminal defense attorneys, we have noticed how the application of what we call an invisible new law of driving while Latino, people of brown skin who have facial features as Latinos are being pulled over with the sole intent and purpose to see if they have a valid driver's license or not, get them arrested because they know that once they go into the county jail, they're going to get an ICE detainer hold. And what's sad is that many of these families and individuals do not have access to an attorney. We want to thank the good Lord that we were able to represent Jennifer Rodriguez. She is here with her family, her daughters, her son, her husband, and we were able to give the good fight. And David Martinez, to my left, played a huge role in that. He heads our immigration department as well as Josephine Arroyo. I'd like to close before turning it over to Attorney Josephine Arroyo, saying that a lot of families out there are losing hope. A lot of families are in fear. But I want them to know, as attorneys, that there's still hope. Despite of what may be seen in the media and the fear tactics used against the immigrant community, there is still a place for justice in this country. There is still a place where even in the darkest moments, even when the odds seem overwhelming, justice still has a place in this country. This country is not made weaker with the contributions of immigrants. It makes us stronger. And now I'm going to turn it over to Attorney Josephine Arroyo. I will, for the benefit of the Spanish media, I'm going to briefly summarize what I just said in Spanish. Ante que nada, buenos días. queremos darle las gracias a todos los medios por estar presentes en el día de hoy. En el día de hoy queremos celebrar una victoria, una batalla pequeña en esta guerra en contra de la discriminación, en contra de nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Ciertamente es una llama pequeña en este momento oscuro, en este capítulo oscuro de nuestro país. Pero no estamos aquí para hablar de política, porque en el tribunal y en el ámbito legal no hay espacio para narrativas políticas, solamente se permiten hechos. Y los hechos indican que 4 de cada 5 personas indocumentados enfrentando posible deportación no tienen récord criminal. Y ahí es donde entramos los abogados. Fuimos a la escuela de Derecho no por dinero, no por fama, pero para hacer justicia en contra de los menos pudientes, los que no tienen voz. ¿Y quién mejor que aquellos que no tienen voz? Que personas que no hablan el lenguaje, que son discriminados y que no tienen acceso a abogados. Y muchos de ellos no pueden votar, así que muchos políticos de todos los partidos a veces no les importa. Y ahí es donde los abogados entramos. Para darle un trasfondo, Jennifer Rodríguez, que está aquí presente, sufrió un momento muy devastador cuando fue arrestada a finales de marzo por alegadamente conducir sin licencia. A principios de abril, nuestra firma la representó en el condado de Osceola, logramos tumbar el caso, pero aún así, tumbando el caso y demostrando que ella tiene una licencia de conducir, ICE no le importó. No solamente no se la llevaron a Miami, se la llevaron a Texas para enfrentar de manera rápida un proceso de deportación. Nosotros, a través del abogado David Martínez, que dirige la División de Inmigración de nosotros, y la licenciada Josephine Arroyo, logramos radicar las mociones de emergencia para asegurar que Jennifer regresara. Jennifer también nos contó que las condiciones de donde ella estaba detenida eran pésimas. Era un cuarto pequeño con 10 a 12 personas, como si fueran animales. Y eso es algo que hay que exponer. Nosotros quisiéramos cerrar, yo también, antes de pasarle la palabra a la licenciada Josephine Arroyo, a todas esas familias que viven en temor. Sepan que aún hay esperanza. Sepan que aún con el discurso político que escuchan en los medios, hay esperanza y hay abogados listos para luchar por ustedes, porque la Constitución de los Estados Unidos también los protege. La Constitución de los Estados Unidos indica que son personas los que son protegidos por la Constitución. Persons, no citizens, no ciudadanos. La Constitución es bien clara, and I want to say that in English. I think it's very important to clarify the misunderstanding or misinformation that our beloved U.S. Constitution does not apply to immigrants. If we read the text of the U.S. Constitution, it is very clear. Nowhere does it say, when it comes to equal protection, nowhere does it say only citizens are protected. It says persons. And that's the beautiful thing about our founding fathers, who actually embraced immigration. So we just wanted to make that clear. Queremos dejar eso claro. Y ahora les dejo con la licenciada Josephine Arroyo.
Good morning. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I'm a little shorter, and this is a little hidden there, so don't mind me. Today we are speaking out because of the growing injustice facing immigrants. There is a dangerous, widespread misinformation campaign happening that the only individuals being detained by ICE or targeted with immigration holds are violent or undocumented. That is simply not true. Those who are here legally and following every step of the immigration process are being targeted as well. We are here to highlight recent examples of this that our firm has handled. These individuals, specifically Jennifer Rodriguez Jimenez, are legally present in the United States. Their criminal charges were criminal traffic tickets and/or misdemeanors, yet they were detained by ICE. In the past, ICE was not putting holds on these low-level offenses, nonviolent and traffic charges, and definitely not someone who had a pending legal immigration process. It was only for violent crimes and those who were undocumented. But now, because of the mass deportation agenda, presidential executive orders, and new Florida legislation, what we are experiencing today seems to be our new normal. These individuals were torn away from the families. These women are mothers who were flown across the country far away from their homes to a Texas detention center as if they were fugitives and held in detention for over 2 months. We do have an individual client who is a male who stayed in the Miami detention center and is in the process of getting released since bond was just granted a couple of days ago. These detention centers are overcrowded and plagued with persistent human rights violations, as Mr. Arroyo just stated, which create severely traumatic environments for the detainees. Due to these environments, many detainees choose to abandon their legal claims and opt for self-deportation. They really are being pressured inside these detention centers to self-deport. They are being forced to choose between their rights and their well-being. This system is designed to break people down, but I want to applaud these individuals who stood strong and courageous, who fought to be reunited with their families, even when they were filled with fear. The only thing stronger than fear is hope. During the time they were detained, ICE failed to respond to multiple requests for release or intervention. In the past, ICE would have responded and would have the discretion to grant a bond, but now the only path to justice comes through the immigration courts, where immigration judges ultimately granted each one of our clients bond, something ICE itself refused to even consider. These victories, though important, should not have to rely solely on the discretion of a judge. It is unacceptable that individuals who are here legally pursuing their immigration processes are being treated this way. Our immigration enforcement system is punishing people simply for being accused, not convicted of a crime. We are not seeing them be afforded the principle of innocent until proven guilty. As the daughter of an immigrant mother from Nicaragua, immigrant rights are personal to me. My family's story is part of the American story. And like so many others, we have seen firsthand the sacrifices, the resilience, and the contributions immigrants make every single day in this country. This is why it is so important for immigrants and their families to remain vigilant, even with pending legal immigration case, even with the proper documents in hand. You are not automatically protected from detention if you come into contact with the criminal legal system. We stand here today to demand better, to call for transparency, accountability, and justice for all immigrants. Immigrants are not disposable. They are our neighbors, our workers, our families, and they deserve due process and dignity. Thank you. I will now do a very shortened version en español. Hoy hablamos desde el corazón porque lo que está ocurriendo con los inmigrantes es inaceptable. Existe una peligrosa campaña de desinformación que sugiere que solo las personas violentas o indocumentadas son detenidos por ICE. Eso es falso. Personas con estatus legal y siguiendo el proceso migratorio también están siendo afectados por simples infracciones menores. Antes, ICE no emitía detenciones por estos cargos no violentos, y menos aún contra quienes tienen procesos migratorios pendientes. Pero hoy, con las nuevas leyes de Florida y las órdenes ejecutivas federales, esto se ha convertido en la nueva realidad. Las separan de sus hijos, las envían lejos, como si fueran criminales peligrosos. Los centros de detención están llenos, son traumáticos y muchos terminan renunciando a sus derechos para salir del sufrimiento. Esto no es justicia. Es un sistema diseñado que quebra a las personas. Pero a pesar del miedo, estas familias lucharon. Con valentía y esperanza pelearon para volver a abrazarse. Como hija de una inmigrante, sé lo que arriesgan nuestras familias. Por eso exigimos respeto, justicia y humanidad. Los inmigrantes no son números, son madres, padres, hijos, vecinos y trabajadores, y merecen dignidad. Gracias.
Thank you. Now we're going to open the floor for any questions that any members of the media may have. ¿Deseas contar tu historia de lo que veo?
¿O quieres hablar?
¿Sí?
¿Quieres hablar o quieres hacer contestar una pregunta?
Contar lo que vio. She's willing to answer questions about what she went through.
¿Habla español solamente?
Sí.
¿Puede ayudar a nosotros su experiencia y cómo se siente ahora estar aquí con su familia?
Lo que vivió, mamita, y que agradecido con todo y con
Es algo bien difícil para ella.
¿Puedes venir aquí también? ¿Tú puedes venir también? Sí. She's a little shy. She's been through a lot.
Bueno, para mí fue una experiencia muy dura, fue muy humillante y
Humberto, ¿quieres decir una palabra?
No, nada, que pues no es justo lo que pasó con nosotros, porque no estábamos indocumentados. En el momento hubo un error, de pronto de mi esposa, por no saber el inglés, firmó un papel que mandaron una citación. Ella tenía su licencia al día, en el momento sacó la licencia, en el momento que era, nos presentamos allá al reclamar la licencia y después ella estaba trabajando y le salía un punto negativo en la licencia con mi hija, averiguamos, fuimos allá varias veces y a pesar de eso, en la tercera vez que fuimos nos la detuvieron, sin importar que íbamos todos, el oficial la hizo girar, la esposó como un delincuente y a todos nos afectó. Y entonces,
Let me just, for benefit of the English-speaking media, I'm going to try to summarize in English as best as possible. I'm not a certified interpreter, but I'm going to do the best I can. He just said that they went through a very difficult moment. She was pulled over because of a no valid DL. They took the necessary steps to prove that she obtained a valid driver's license, and despite of that, she was arrested as if she was a criminal and taken into ICE custody.
¿Cómo fue ese proceso de estar separados 2 meses de tu esposa, ella, de la familia? ¿Cómo fue eso?
el proceso fue duro porque, a ver, al principio, en el momento que la detuvieron a ella, menos mal mi hija hablaba inglés y pues el oficial que nos la detuvo le habló a mi hija, no nos dijo que la iba a detener, no nos dijo, en el momento no nos dijo, nos hizo entrar a un cuarto donde estábamos los 4, el oficial sin nada la hizo parar, la hizo girar y le colocó unas esposas. Mi hija le habló al oficial que qué pasaba y simplemente le dijo a la niña que la tenía que detener por algo que ella no había hecho, que no se había presentado a la corte. Mi hija le argumentó al oficial de que la mamá no se presentó no porque no quisiera, sino por una mala información. Y entonces nosotros decíamos, pero si hay una mala información del oficial que en el momento la paró, no era justo de que la detuviera. Simplemente, pues, danos una esta vez, no como presentarnos a la corte y argumentar, pero no, el señor no le importó y la esposó, nos hizo salir de allí porque nos hizo salir de allí, nos puso a voltear ese día, desesperados, llorando, mi niño llorando, yo llorando, buscábamos a alguien que nos podía ayudar. Mi niña buscamos en Facebook, dimos con el doctor, vinimos, les pusimos el caso, ellos nos preguntaron que si estábamos indocumentados, no, nosotros hemos hecho los taxis como es, hemos pagado los impuestos como es, mi esposa no estaba sin documentos, ninguno. Eso se lo dijimos al oficial, él no le interesó, simplemente que tenías que detenerla a ella. Y lo que nos dijo fue, vayan y digan en tal lado una cosa. Mi hija habló, allá fuimos, y a mi hija le argumentaban de que si no nos íbamos de ahí, que si no nos retirábamos de ahí, íbamos a parar acompañando a la mamá allá mismo donde ella estaba, porque no debíamos estar allí.
So basically, in a nutshell, he stated that there was a misunderstanding in terms of the driver's license. They took the necessary steps to show that she had a valid driver's license. She was taken into custody. And at one point, when he took steps to intervene and speak with law enforcement and ICE, they were actually threatened and told that if they didn't want to get deported as well, if they kept on seeking more information, that's what's going to happen. That was what's going to happen to them. Would you like to say any words in English? Okay. We have one of Jennifer's daughters here who speaks English, and she wishes to share her story. Your name?
My name is Maria, and this was a very hard process because we were never like that apart from my mom. We were every day, we share our mornings and everything, and this was very hard. At first, we didn't know what to do. Everything was like so overwhelming, and thank God we found this law firm because we didn't know what to do. And we heard from people she was gonna get deported. Our life in Colombia is not the best right now, and that's why we were like worried about it. And it was really hard. These past 2 months was really hard. Seeing her through a phone, hearing from her. Last 2 calls, we saw her, and she was her health was not the best. The process right now of like seeing what's going to happen or what's happening right now in this country, like it really affects us because we don't know what's gonna happen. And I think it's not what's the word? No es justo.
It's not just.
fair.
It's not fair that we as people had to suffer and pass through these experiences because we have rights as everyone. And yeah, I think I'm really happy that we are with my mom right now. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
¿Puedo responder una pregunta en español, por favor?
Sí, señor.
Como familia, ¿cuál sientes que es el momento más difícil que vivieron en toda esta situación?
El momento más difícil que vivimos en toda esta situación fue en el que no sabíamos qué hacer porque todo se nos vino encima. Nuestro hogar, nuestra familia, hubo peleas, hubo veces que lloramos, no sabíamos qué hacer. Nos tocó salir de donde vivíamos porque teníamos 24 horas para desalojar. Mi mamá fue un apoyo muy increíble en el momento económico. Entonces esa parte, al salir a esa parte de nuestra casa, nos vimos muy presionados, nos vimos muy cargados con todo el peso. Me tocó a mí como hermana mayor hacerme cargo de mis hermanos, apoyar a mi papá, que nunca en 16 años que mis papás han estado casados y han estado juntos, se habían separado. Entonces sí, yo creo que ese fue el momento más difícil.
Can I ask how you guys found these attorneys? What made you say there's hope?
We went to there is this jail, Orange County Jail, and we went to the bond and all the jail bonds. They are like over the place, and we saw this big sign with their faces. And then he asked me, he was like, "We need to find a lawyer," because everyone was telling us that if we paid the bond, she was gonna go out in 24 hours. But we didn't know because she had the immigration hold. And we found the big sign, and then I found them on Google. And we came like as quick as possible. And he talked to us. We didn't have an appointment, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna open like a little space for y'all. And we talked to him, and he was like, okay, there's hope, we can get her out. And yeah, that's how we found them.
¿Qué sigue ahora para su familia? O sea, ya están juntos nuevamente, pero ¿cuál es el proceso quizás a tratar de tener una vida normal como antes o ya las cosas cambian un poco?
La verdad es un proceso duro porque créeme que nadie quiere vivir esto. Para mi mamá, estar con nosotros era todo. Entonces, yo creo que ahora, la verdad, no hubo algún cambio porque siempre tuvimos la esperanza de que ella iba a volver. Siempre tuvimos esa fe y siempre estuvimos así, a pesar de que fue por un teléfono, porque había mala señal, se escuchaba lejos, a pesar de todo eso, siempre se tuvo como el amor, la fe y la gran esperanza de que ella iba a volver a estar a nuestros lados. Entonces yo creo que en esa parte de una vida normal no nos afectó tanto porque siempre se tuvo ese amor grande, siempre se tuvo esa fe.
Can I ask, I know you heard a little bit about the conditions from the attorneys, and what was it like for you knowing that she was in a small room with 10, 12 people and, you know, and not comfortable?
Yeah, it was actually really hard to know that she was with all that people that she didn't know under those conditions. It was really hard, and we really worried about her health, and we tried to tell her like not to worry, not to stress, because it was gonna be harder for her because she has like this migraine and her headache and all that. She was gonna get sick. Even though those conditions were the best, but she tried to keep that like hope in her heart and try to talk to God. That is the most important thing, and that's what she did to like try to keep this fight.
So can you take us through a little bit of the timeline here of how long was she held in Osceola, and how long was she in Texas, and when did she get back?
Absolutely. She was arrested on the no valid DL charge in Osceola County late March. The beginning, I believe it was the first week of April, we immediately got the case, April 10th to be exact, we immediately got the case dropped through the Office of the State Attorney in Osceola County because she did in fact have a valid driver's license. Despite of that, ICE didn't care. They took her, they kept her at the Osceola County Jail. Then they transferred her to Texas where she remained until her release, which was in June 3rd. So approximately 2.5 months maybe. She was separated from her family, and you can just imagine the suffering that they've gone through. But thank the good Lord, they are back, they are safe, and we're not going to preach here, but Scripture, I'm not going to cite it exactly, but Scripture specifically says somewhere that do not discriminate or oppress the immigrants, for you too were immigrants in Egypt. So I think it's very clear that, you know, everything worked out for the best. Destiny, God, or whatever you believe in, put us in each other's paths. And she is now home. And we also have another person, Fabiola, who is here as well. She arrived a little late. She, too, went through the same process as Jennifer. She's here with her beautiful son. And thank God we were able to get her released as well. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And I just want to say her time frame was similar, beginning of April, and was recently released beginning of June, I believe it was. So approximately 2 months for her as well.
I believe she wants to say some words as well. Okay.
Bueno, estoy muy agradecida. Estoy muy agradecida con la firma de Arroyo porque siempre estuvo pendiente de mi caso y hicieron todo lo que estuvo en sus manos para que pudiera ser lo más rápido posible. Pero en medio de la situación, pues nada puede ser rápido. Igual le agradezco mucho por siempre estar pendiente, pues. Gracias.
She currently has an active asylum process, which was actually active. She had a Social Security card, she had a valid DL, she had a work permit, she had all her papers in place. And I think it's very important to highlight and call out this misinformation that's out there, that all immigrants who are being held in ICE detention are somehow criminals. Of course, there's a share of them who have committed crimes, and we as attorneys believe that the law should apply to those people. But what we're calling out today is that the majority of these people, 4 out of 5, according to the last data that I was able to obtain, are not criminals. Most of them are being pulled over for no valid DL, and it's quite honestly racial profiling. If you look Hispanic, you're going to get pulled over. If you don't have a valid DL, they'll arrest you, and guess what? You get an ICE detainer when you get to the jail. So then, and another thing we want to point out, and I'm going to say it in Spanish too, do not pay the bond if you're picked up, because once you pay the bond, ICE immediately comes and picks you up. It's very important to take care of the criminal case first. Even though you're going to wait in jail a while, it's very important to take care of the criminal case first to then have a better argument when your case goes to ICE. Queremos dejarles saber que a la comunidad inmigrante, si son detenidos y arrestados, no paguen la fianza inmediatamente, porque al pagar la fianza, ICE viene a recogerlo inmediatamente, no los van a soltar, y es bien imperativo de que se resuelva el caso criminal primero, aunque tenga que esperar varios días más en la cárcel, y entonces tener un mejor argumento con ICE.
And I just want to clarify that as well, that the jail will tell you this, the people at the jail will tell you this, bondsmen will tell you this, so it's not just coming from our mouth. They're being very clear so that you're very aware as to what the next step will be when that happens.
Prior to these new executive orders, if a person showed up at an immigration court and told the judge or was able to prove they had a pending asylum case like this, then they would otherwise be allowed to stay, yes?
We were not seeing ICE holds. We've been doing criminal defense for years, and for cases of no valid driver's license, we were never seeing ICE holds. We were not seeing ICE holds for individuals who had pending immigration processes. We were seeing ICE holds on, aggravated felonies, violent crimes, and undocumented. So violent and undocumented. But we have had clients in the past that were undocumented with a no valid driver's license, and they were not getting detained. I will say that the Seminole County Jail is not detaining and holding people with ICE holds for no valid driver's license. We have had quite a bit of clients that come out of Seminole County Jail and they're not being detained. We've also seen some cases in Volusia County where there are misdemeanor charges and they were not being detained. But we are seeing a significant increase of holds in Orange and Osceola counties and other jails, which is new to us because these were the jails that were not putting the holds before. Maybe in stricter counties, more rural counties, we may have seen holds in the past, but definitely not in Orange and Osceola. So we do believe this is a new normal that's happening in our community.
And how rare is it? I know we have two situations here of people who have been able to get released, but among people that you've represented or how rare is a situation like this that somebody, even if they have a legal process to be here, is actually allowed back?
We feel very strongly that if they have a pending legal process, that they are entitled to bond, and I think that that's why we are seeing success stories, and we will continue to fight those fights. The cases that are very difficult are cases where they are undocumented, they came through the border, right? They never reported to ICE, or maybe they did report to ICE but then failed their hearings or didn't go back and continue to report to them. Those cases are going to be very hard unless our immigration attorney can find some reasons as to potentially maybe get a waiver of some type. Maybe they overstayed a visa and they'll be eligible for a waiver. And then, of course, when they're low-level offenses, right? So misdemeanors, traffic offenses. When we get into the area of felonies, even with a pending legal process, that probably would be a harder fight. And when you're getting into the level of felony and undocumented, that's almost a no-go, and we always want to be very clear with our clients to explain to them, like, I'm not just going to pretend that we could save you from this, but be very clear as to what the future probably holds in these types of scenarios. I don't know if you,
If you had a question?
It was basically that if they wouldn't have found you, if people don't find attorneys, what typically happens to them?
Well, for once, they're pressured to self-deport. They're told that there's no hope, that they're here illegally, and that they should just better self-deport. And I think the fear tactic is very effective. But when these people are able to have the advice and counsel of an attorney, as Attorney Josephine Arroyo said, each case is different. We can't make any guarantees. It's prohibited by the Florida Bar anyway. But we are very transparent with them as to their chances. And in this case, these two young ladies had their papers in order. They paid taxes. They've done everything lawfully to obtain the American dream. And I know that the slogan of the American dream is slowly fading away, or it seems like it's fading away. It's not mentioned as much as it used to by politicians, but we stand firm in believing that the American dream still exists in this country, and it is led by the resilience and the courage of the immigrant community, which founded this country.
Why do you feel like it's important to share stories like this?
I think it's very important. That's a very good question, and it's something that we discussed with them before getting their authorization to come here. I think it's absolutely imperative that this story is told to diminish that fear by many within the immigrant community, which overwhelming majority are Hispanics. And as I said before, we became attorneys to represent the voiceless. And in these dark times and this dark chapter of our country, these people are the embodiment of the term voiceless. They don't speak the language. They can't vote. So a lot of politicians from both sides of the aisle don't really care. So they really don't have a voice. And the only person or people that can stand up for them are attorneys within the legal arena, where facts are what matter and not political rhetoric and sound bites.
I think also I just want to add that I think it's important because there is a misinformation campaign happening, right, where the only people that are being taken by ICE are these, violent criminals that are undocumented and illegal, but here we have stories that show that that is not the case. And I think it helps us inform the community so that the community can rally around and fight harder to protect our immigrant community, and so I believe that that's an important point as well.
Any other questions?
Josephine Arroyo. Josephine.
Any other questions?
Mensaje para las familias que están en esta situación del punto de vista legal.
Sí.
¿Qué debe suceder o qué podría suceder para que podamos ver más casos como estos? Porque son miles y miles de detenidos y quizás he hecho una o dos noticias como esta en los últimos meses.
Muy buena pregunta. Eso es lo que acabo de explicar en inglés. Se me olvidó hacerlo en español, así que gracias por la pregunta. Estas historias son imperativos y muy importantes para deshacernos de esta campaña de desinformación y una campaña de miedo en contra de la comunidad para hacerlos creer que no hay esperanza. Sí hay esperanza. Y nosotros como abogados nos hicimos abogados para ser la voz de las personas que no tienen voz. Y el mejor ejemplo de personas que no tienen voz son personas inmigrantes que en su mayoría no hablan el lenguaje, no pueden votar, así que muchos políticos de ambos partidos no les importa, y la única opción que tienen es la defensa de abogados que están para lograr la justicia en el ámbito legal, donde no hay espacio para retórica política, sino solamente hay espacio para los hechos y la ley. Y gracias al licenciado David Martínez, a la licenciada Josephine Arroyo, hicimos los argumentos legales dentro de la arena y el ámbito legal, y gracias a Dios prevalecimos y continuaremos haciéndolo. Nuestro mensaje al final del día es que no tengan temor, que busquen la asesoría de un abogado y no pierdan la esperanza, porque eso es lo último que se pierde. All right. No further questions. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, yes,
Thank
off
you.
the record, thank
Muy
you all so
agradecido,
much.
muy agradecido con todos los abogados. Gracias, gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Humberto Ramírez.
H-U-M.
H-U-M. B-E-R-T-O. Last one?
Ramirez.
And your last name?
Rodriguez.
Maria, M-A-R-I.